One and live, Mr. Chris Guillebeau. Oh my gosh, I'm excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
We look kind of ridiculous now with our mega microphone. Do you see that? But if you want to have a good audio, I mean, you have to do it.
It's a whole new world. So many things are ridiculous these days, so why not?
Yeah. And by the way, I think you just finished your podcast like 1 hour ago or something like that.
Yep. What you said something about doing a stream? Sorry, I couldn't hear you for a second.
Yeah. So I think you also launched your podcast with I think it's with the name of the new book or something like that.
Yes. So I have a podcast called Side Hustle School that I've been doing every day for 3 years. But also the new book is called Money Tree, and I'm doing a new YouTube series every morning West Coast time. But every weekday I'm doing a new series where I'm just talking to people and taking questions a lot like you do. So it's fun.
Cool. By the way, Chris, I was telling you before that I follow you for a long time now, at least 7 years, because I moved in UK 7 years ago. So at least for 7 years. And I was trying to show you before, I'll get you. I read $100 startups that I've hardly promoted in Italy. So if you sold books in Italy, I want a percentage of it. But
well, thank you.
Apart from that, the interesting thing is, I also read this one, Born for This. Give me a second. All right, Born for This. I got this one too. Born for This.
Yeah.
I don't know when you wrote this one. This was
maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I think.
3 or 4 years ago. How to find the work you were meant to do, and the other one was the Side Hustle. I liked Side Hustle because it was full of stories of people who was trying to launch a side hustle. So it was really cool. Plus, I was following you for the World Domination Summit. Are you still organizing it or not?
Yes, we are. Well, this was going to be year number 10, and we're actually going to end it at number 10. I just think it's good to have endings to things sometimes. So this summer was going to be the finale, and now everything has changed because the world has changed. So we are going to postpone it to next summer. So WDS 2020 will be in 2021. And the good news is for everybody who is complaining to me and saying like, why are you ending it? Like, well, now it's going to go on for 1 more year. So we will go next year. Maybe I can see you there next summer.
Got it. What do you think, by the way? Let's start from here. You've organized this event for a long time. What do you think will change with this events world after COVID? I mean, what's the new scenario?
Yeah, well, I mean, not just, my event, but events everywhere and how people gather. And I mean, there's so many changes, obviously, in Italy. I mean, you guys have been affected so much, and the whole world has been watching Italy for a long time. And I think, I mean, I'm not a futurist, I don't make predictions, but I don't think we're going to go back to the same way of life. And I think some things will always be different, or maybe at least be different for a very long time. That doesn't mean that we won't be able to gather. I think we'll be able to have community, and I think people want that now more than ever. I mean, people now, it's like the more isolated you are, the more you want to connect with people. That's why I think so many people are watching these, live streams and such. But I think it's going to be a while. I think it's going to take some time, and I think a lot of people, are worried and afraid, and I think it's hard because there's going to be all these negative effects, and we know it's negative in lots of ways. And like, I always try to be careful when I talk about this because, of course, a lot of people are hurting and so much devastation. But I guess what I'm trying to look at is what are the positive effects, and how can people find opportunity in this time? And so I think we're not going back to the way the world used to be. When sometimes people ask me about a certain profession or something, they're like, I work in the travel industry, what should I do? And I'm like, maybe you should find another industry, because it's going to be a long time before that comes back. But the good news is lots of other industries are kind of taking off. So what should you change to? What should you transition? What can you learn during this time?
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, connected to the world of events is often the world of traveling. You've been traveling so much. How many countries did you travel to?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I think I lost you for a second there. I couldn't hear what you just said.
I was trying to understand how many countries did you travel to in this period, And I think you travel so much. Here is your website, by the way.
Yes. My internet is very good right now. It says it's very good, but for some reason this is breaking up a little bit. So I apologize. You were asking something about travel, was that right?
Yeah, traveling.
Okay.
If you've been traveled so much, and I was wondering, how do you see this world, the disruption also in the world of traveling?
Yes, exactly. Well, my life was travel for a long time, and like I was traveling every month, around the world. And over the past couple of years, it's changed a little bit for me too, because I haven't been doing as much, going to Africa and going to different places in South Asia and such. I've been more focused on, just where can I go to meet my readers or my listeners, and just other things like that. But I mean, obviously now I'm not traveling at all, and so. I mean, I'm sad about it, but I had to cancel my tour. I was going to go all over North America to 40 different cities to talk about this book, and of course I couldn't do that. So I was sad for a little bit, but then I was like, well, what can I do? It's like I can't control that. There's nothing I can do to control it. It's like if I wanted to, there's nothing I can do, basically. So you can either choose to fight reality, or you can accept the reality for what it is and just go from there. So I've tried to say, what can I do? And hopefully eventually I'll be able to travel again and it will be fun, but I think it will be a minute, it'll be some time.
Right. Tell me about your new book, because your new book is a novel, right?
Mm-hmm. It is, yeah. It's my first novel. It's my first time to tell a story. I use lots of stories in my other books, my how-to books, but they're very much like business books and step-by-step, and here's how you do something. And a lot of people don't read business books, like I'm sure you've experienced, like a lot of people don't read how-to books or business books, but everybody likes stories. Everybody likes to be entertained and inspired. And I really think, even though I like writing the business books, the majority of people who need to hear whatever it is I can share about, they're not going to go to the business section of the bookstore or look on the website on Amazon or wherever else. And so I want this message to be accessible to everyone, the message of financial security, of what can you do to protect yourself, so that the next time something unpredictable happens, you are better protected for the future, you have security. And ultimately that's what I'm trying to help people to do. So if I'm only helping business people, that's not really, aligned with my mission. And so I'm hoping that the new book, people will read it and they're like, oh, this is an interesting story. Like, I like this character. I'm curious to see what happens with him. But then maybe they'll realize he's a very relatable person and they can do something, for themselves too. So my hope is to kind of teach through storytelling, but in a way that's not so, instructional or like, do this, here's your step one, here's your step two. But hopefully you'll learn along the way.
Chris, what are some suggestions or tips that you can give in this moment to people in business who has to reinvent themselves in this difficult situation?
Reinvention is a great word. So to reinvent yourself, it obviously implies that you are letting go of something. You are letting go of something and you are creating something new. So the first part is like, what is no longer relevant? For that person who is owning the travel agency or whatever, that's going to be difficult, like we just said. But that person has a lot of other skills. And so I think the first step is always like, what is it that I am good at? What knowledge do I have? What can I share with the world? What can I teach or build into some kind of product or service? How can I go from a general idea to a specific offer? How can I find the right people for that offer? I mean, these are the kinds of things I teach. So it starts with really thinking about what you're good at, and then also thinking about what is aligned with this time. What are the needs that people have during this time? And we mentioned community a moment ago. I think people are seeking connection in so many different ways. People are finding different musicians are like doing their concerts online now. And I think musicians were doing that before, but I don't think anybody noticed in the same way. Like now everybody is watching, everybody go online and do something. So people have a need for connection. People have a need for safety. People have a need for reassurance. They are very isolated right now. And so anything you can do either physically or, online virtually to bring people together is good. At the same time, I think people are looking at wellness, more like wellness, exercise, spirituality. You can't go outside in lots of places in the world, as you know very well. Or even if you can go outside, like where I live, I can go outside, but everything is closed. All the shops are closed. The gym is closed. So I can't go to the gym and exercise. So home exercise is now really big. So I think you always have to ask, what is the specific need that I can provide that comes together with what is happening in the world? And then if you want to go to the next step, it's like, what's going to happen 3 months from now, which I think is more interesting, because if you're just responding to what is out now, then you might still be behind. It's going to take you some time to build whatever product or whatever. So you have to think, okay, when this changes in 3 months or however long, and people are going back to that way of life that we just talked about, what will they need at that point?
In side hustle, I remember you had a lot of stories of people who tried to invent a different revenue stream, basically, and also business model for their life. Do you see in this moment any interesting examples of business launching new things, reinventing themselves in an unusual way, in a different way?
A couple of different things. So I did a story on a woman who does food tours, like walking food tours in Atlanta, Georgia, in the US. And they have food tours, obviously, everywhere in Europe and elsewhere. And so now food tours is a business that's very much, impacted and, almost non-existent during this time. And so she has found a way to put together these gift boxes from all these local restaurants, and you can buy a virtual tour in a box. So this is a product that comes to your home, and you get to try these different foods, but she's also made videos that go with it. So you can watch the videos and learn about the business owner. It's a really good way to support small businesses. If you're like, I want to help businesses, stay alive and to try something new. And then also I think it's good because she's just kind of remaining in front of her customers. People just forget, people forget things. And if your business is not able to provide its core service, then I think it's good to ask, okay, what else can I do? And then for like an individual, I was talking this morning on another conversation about someone who is working on online dating profiles. So I don't know how it is in Italy, but in the States, like everybody's online dating, it's like 40% or something. And maybe that's a little bit, changed now for a time period, but eventually people are going to go back to it, of course. So she has a business as a consultant helping men improve their profiles, because a lot of men have bad profiles. They don't have good photos. They don't know what to say. And so she's put together all these packages where you can buy, like, I will give you a grade. I will kind of review your profile. And then if you pay more, I will write your profile for you. I will manage the whole thing. So this is an example of, and it started because she used to do online dating, and she eventually met her partner, her husband. But before that, she kept meeting all these guys who were not very good at it. And so she realized this is a big need. I'm qualified to provide this need, and there's a lot of people out there who might benefit from it. So I like to always ask people, like, what is your experience? What have you been through in life? Not just if you went to university, not just what did you do for your career, but what knowledge do you have as a result of some experience you've had? Because that's where your side hustle could be.
By the way, Chris, so she's a dating consultant, basically.
Yes, dating consultant.
For your profile, to improve your profile, to improve your chance to find the right person. Basically.
Right, or to be attractive, to make people not skip over it very quickly,
Right. I'm lucky to be married, because if I try to be more attractive, like a bald like I am, would be very difficult, but maybe she would be good enough. Tell me something. What about passion? Because a lot of people talk about passion, and again, there are some people who say, follow your passion, follow your passion. Other people say, no, don't follow your passion. Follow your, your skills, your talent. So what's your take on this big discussion?
I think people should follow the right passion, because, not everything that you have a passion for is going to be a good business or a good side hustle, or not everything that you are passionate for. Maybe you want to make a business. There's some things you just want to do because you like to do them, and it's your hobby, and you might not enjoy it if all of a sudden you have to do this business stuff for it. And then, as I said, some things that you like, other people don't find a value, or there's not some way to monetize it. So the trick is to find the right passion. I think it's what we talked about the intersection between, like, what is it that you are good at, that you are excited about, that you like to do. Because there are so many things that you could do. You might as well do something you're excited about. But the second part of it is very key. The second part is what is valuable to others. And throughout my life, I've tried to find the intersection between those things. And I notice if it's too much one or the other, then I'm ultimately not happy, or I'm not effective. If it's too much about me, then other people don't care. And that's how it should be. But if it's all about, if I'm just trying to do something because it is marketable, or because other people are doing it successfully, but I don't really like it, then I'm not going to be happy. And I'm probably not going to be that good at it, actually, because it kind of comes through. If you're excited about something, people can see. So I think it's always like, what can I do that I'm excited that I have the skill for, but also like other people are like, sign me up for that. You know, the online dating thing, you know, she was passionate about helping people. It doesn't have to be the thing that you love more than anything else in the world. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do. And also maybe one more thing, when I was really young, I was starting to sell things online, just buying stuff and selling it on online auctions and little websites. And what I was selling like coffee and clothes and toys and video games. And it's not like I was passionate about every category or like I'm really passionate about this, you know, household furnishing that I'm selling. But I liked the process of it, and I was learning so much through it. And what attracted me to it was the idea of freedom and the idea of if I, you know, do this more, I will get better at it, and I can set my own schedule. And so that was very exciting. So sometimes the passion comes in what are you actually trying to achieve for yourself, not so much what is the specific topic that you are doing. I think you muted yours. Are you muted there? I can't see you.
Sorry, Chris. I was telling probably also once you start to become.
I lost you again.
Oh, I'm here.
There you are. You're back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was saying probably once you start to be good in something, then you become more passionate because you start to get results. So is a good loop. To achieve. Chris, I was curious about one thing about your book promotion. How will your book promotion change in this COVID situation, which is a very unusual and strange situation to be in to promote a book?
Yes, I think you said something about how will it change. Is that right?
Yeah.
How will it change?
How will your book change? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm supposed to be going, you know, city to city every night, speaking different places, and I can't do that now. So I realized like in some ways, even though I like to do that, I like to go to all the different places and see people. In some ways, it's not very effective because, you know, I can go somewhere and there might be 100 people there, 200, or maybe even 300 people. But like to go like every day flying somewhere else and checking into a hotel and there's like setup and then everything, it takes a lot of time. And so I still like to do it, but I realized maybe I was doing it just because that was the way that I knew, and as opposed to like, this is the right way. And so now I'm like, well, what if I took all of that time? So all of April this month, all of next month, May, I was supposed to be traveling. What if I spent the same amount of time just, you know, here in my house, virtually trying to talk to different people, have conversations like this one, you know, just speak to people about whatever they want to talk about and answer questions and just try to be available and just to see what I could do for that. So in some ways I want to, you know, I want the book to get out there. I want the message to get out there, but ultimately it's just kind of about showing up and trying to be a resource. And, you know, if people find it to be helpful, then hopefully they'll get the book and the book is helpful. But it's all part of like the overall goal. It's not so much just about one thing.
Will you go more on live events, virtual summits? What will you go more on that route?
Yeah,
what's your plan?
All of the above. I mean, basically what people ask me to do, I'm doing right now. Like you asked me to have this conversation. I was like, oh, I know this guy online, and like, I'd love to do that. Tomorrow I'm speaking in Malaysia. You know, like I have to get up very early here to speak in Malaysia to some other entrepreneur group. But that's fun. That's okay. Like I like to do that. So different day, different groups, and you know, we'll see what happens.
Chris, tell me something about the situation in the US. How is this quarantine? What is the lockdown situation? How is your daily life?
Yeah, well, it depends quite a bit on where you are in the US because the US is such a big country, you know, geographically. So it is different in different places. And I'm on the West Coast. I'm in Oregon and California most of the time. So it is not as bad here as it is like in New York right now. I'm sure people have seen in New York, it's a very bad situation. And the lockdown has been going on for quite a while, not as long as Italy, but going on for a while. And it hasn't been good. I'm hoping that they're saying it's starting to get a little bit better now. So we shall see. But because our country is so big, it's difficult there's so many different governments, you know, and I know Italy's like this too. It's like you have federal government and then all these state governments and local. And so there's different rules in different places. And so some places they're more restricted than others, and some places have more people, you know, infected than others. And so I don't know. I think it's going to be a long time here for sure before things go normal or sort of normal again.
What's your prediction like as a time frame? Do you have any plan about?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I probably know as much as anybody. This is not my field. I read things, and I think my concern is that the longer it goes on with the lockdown, I don't know how it was there, but the longer it is, the more resistance there is to it. Like at first, everybody's like, okay, we accept this. Like we know that we have to do it. But then, like if it goes on, weeks and weeks and into months, like it was there, I worry that there's a lot more, what's the word, like rebellion, and people are like, I'm not going to honor this or whatever. So that is concerning. But hopefully soon we will have this test, the antibody test, or I don't know what it's called there, where you can see if you have had it before, like a long time ago. I think that will be helpful. I think I had it, the coronavirus, like in February. But I don't know that for sure, because that was before they were doing a lot more testing here in the US. So that's something I'm curious about. Like I want to go and get the test so I can find out.
And what about your daily routine? How is your day structured in this moment?
Well, for me, I'm very fortunate because I work for myself. I work from home. A lot of what I do is not that different, for me, compared to so many other people whose whole lives have been changed. But for me, the changes are a little bit more subtle in the sense that I can't travel, I can't go and do events. I am pretty isolated, just like a lot of other people, and like I can go out to exercise, which is good. The person brings me my food from the delivery service, and I see that person, I'm like, hey, and that's like my whole interaction sometimes for the day. I realize like the one person I saw today was the person who came on a scooter and brought me my food. But as I said, I feel fortunate because a lot of other people are learning to work remotely. They never did that before. But that's an opportunity too, because some people have been emailing me and saying like, I wanted to work remotely for a long time and my boss never let me do it before. My company wouldn't allow it. And now they have to allow it. So that's something I think is going to be different in the future. Once people are able to go back to work and go back to offices, a lot of people aren't going to want to. And they're going to say, well, it worked before. Like, obviously, I was able to do my work before. So why do I have to go back now? And I think that's going to be interesting because, you always think something is impossible until you actually have to do it. And then you do it and you're like, maybe it's not that hard. Right. So that will be interesting to see.
I have a question in chat for you asking, who is your source of inspiration? If you have, I would also go for, if you can suggest any interesting people in this moment, any interesting book to read, that would be definitely helpful in this period.
Okay, that's a great question. So for me, mostly my inspiration is not other authors or other like online celebrities. I try to be mostly inspired and motivated by like my community itself and everybody in the community who's doing interesting things. And whenever I like talk with them online, or if I'm able to do an event, or I get emails from people, just like I'm sure you do all the time, and they have some story to share. And I think that's really interesting to see like how are ordinary people out there finding courage to embrace new solutions and try something different. So I think that's good. But as for books and authors, let's see, who should I recommend here? Here's a book I have. I just got this book the other day from this guy. I don't know if you've seen this one. It's called Think Like a Rocket Scientist.
All right.
It just came out, 2 days ago. I don't know if you know this guy, but this is a really interesting book. It's like simple strategies you can use to make leaps in work and life. So I'm reading this one. And then I always like to mention my good friend, Jonathan Fields. I don't know if you know him or not.
What did he write?
He has a project called Good Life Project, which is online YouTube and podcast. And he's written some books as well, but he's mostly known for that project. I should connect you. I think you would like him. He's in New York.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Absolutely. I will check it out. Are you watching any television series, movie, documentary, something particularly inspiring in this moment, apart from Contagion? In Italy and UK, everyone watched Contagion.
I saw that. I saw the statistics of it are like way up. Yeah, it's crazy, huh? I don't think I'm watching anything that's inspiring. I like to watch some things sometimes, but it has to be really good. Like I don't want to. The problem with these days, everything is a series and everything goes on for 5 seasons and like 100 episodes. And I don't like, you have to really be invested in that, I think. So I haven't found anything that meets that standard yet.
Chris, just to wrap it up, what's your plan for the next, let's say, 6 months, end of the year, apart from the launch of your new book? How do you see yourself in this post-COVID new normality situation? Will you just keep going like you did with your books, your normal activity, or will you change dramatically something of your business activities?
Yeah, I think I will change somewhat. I don't know if it will be dramatic or not. I like what I do. I feel very grateful that I can do it. So I think I'm going to keep writing. I will write a new book at some point. But I do have a lot more space now and time that I didn't expect to have because of WDS, the event being postponed for a year. That always takes me, several weeks to put together. So I have that, and not being able to travel now. Maybe once I'm able to travel, at least in North America, we can do some events again and see how that goes. Hopefully, I'll be able to travel more to Europe in the future. But I don't have a grand plan right now. I'm just kind of focused on what is in front of me today. What can I do today? What can I do tomorrow? And then after that, we will see. What about you? What are you? How are you changing?
Well, yeah, definitely more online, more virtual summits, more online content, definitely. Yeah. I was already in that direction, doing tech startups. So will be very similar to my previous life, but I was already in the digital sector. So probably that's the main difference. Another question for you in the chat. If you have a mentor, and if you had a mentor, was an important person for you, and or is now an important person for you mentoring you?
No, I don't. I don't think I've ever had a mentor, and I want to be careful in how I explain that, because I'm not trying to say that I know everything or I knew everything. A lot of what I'm trying to teach and my life is about self-reliance. Like, what can you learn from yourself? And within yourself are a lot of skills and knowledge. And we can learn from other people. Like, I learn from other people every day. But sometimes I think people are looking to a mentor because they're looking for someone to give them permission and just say, like, hey, it's okay, you can go and do this thing, and they don't need permission from anybody. So, I spent a number of years living in West Africa, in Liberia and Sierra Leone, in these countries right after a war. And the reason why I first went was I was very young, I was 22. And I went because I heard the story of this guy who was a surgeon, a doctor from California, and he went to volunteer and he had spent 20 years there. And I thought, wow, okay, if he spends 20 years, maybe I can go and do something. So that kind of inspired me in that way. So I thought of him as a mentor perhaps, but it was more like a mentor by example, because I didn't become a doctor. I just thought, like, well, that's interesting what he did. So I don't have a mentor per se. I try to learn from a lot of people. Like, I learned from this conversation. I'll go away and I'll think, oh, that was interesting. What can I take away from that? Or from the emails I get, or the other conversations I have, but I don't have a mentor.
Another couple of random questions. Sure. Sorry, I just jumped from a question to another, but it's interesting also from different platforms. Twitch, they are curious to know, what's the name of this guy? PO, is a Twitch nickname, so PO1, whatever. Yeah. He asks if you have any apps that you recommend to work remotely in this period, anything about your personal, professional productivity.
Yes, that's fine. I use an app called OmniFocus. I don't know if you know that one. It's like for to-do lists and tasks. There's a lot of different apps for tasks and to-do lists, but that's the one I like. It's called OmniFocus. That's probably the main thing that I use. So it's just a collection of lists. Every day I have lists. I'm looking at what is my list, what is my project list, what do I need to do next, and so on. So that's helpful to me.
Specifically on financial freedom, Fabio is asking to you if you would suggest any book or experience to help a novice move toward financial freedom.
I think of a podcast called Afford Anything. So it's Afford Anything by Paula Pant. She is really good at lots of conversations like this, but also teaching directly about financial freedom or financial security.
Fantastic. I also have a random question from a couple of girls asking, how old are you? Probably is about the dating online side of the...
That's funny. I am pretty old, so I don't think I'm that young, but I just had a birthday. Right. I'm 42.
Excellent. Very good, Chris. So, good luck for your new book.
Thank you.
When will be available in Italy? Do you already have a plan for that?
I don't have a plan right now, so I'm waiting to hear from the publishers there. Everything is slow right now. So right now they have the US version that you can import from wherever you are in the world. Any bookstore or online bookstore should be able to get it. But hopefully within the next year, some of the foreign editions will come out as well.
Fantastic. The title of your new book is The Money Tree, right?
Yes, it is The Money Tree, a story of finding the fortune in your own backyard.
Fantastic. I'll be very curious to read it, and I'll let you know my feedback after your previous 3 books. So I will put it in my Chris Guillebeau list, my section where are all of your books. Thank you so much, Chris. Good luck for everything.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And